Halo, the TV series. We're diving into episode 5, Reckoning. So be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Halo TV series. I've covered each of the individual episodes, starting with episodes 1 and 2 as a singular review video, then episode 3, and then episode 4, and now episode 5, so your support is appreciated if you want to keep seeing these reviews every week of the Halo TV series. We're down for 2 seasons, let's dive in. So Reckoning is the first Halo TV series episode that actually feels like what a series should be for Halo. The waiting has the extremely hardcore waiting. I can't believe we're 5 episodes in and we've had to wait for this kind of stuff like this long. But yes, the action is here. You get to see everything. If you're a Halo fan, wow, this was where it was at. Calm, quiet, the coolness of them kind of figuring out what is this artifact, the Covenant making their move, and then all this other little subplot things. Not a whole lot of Quan there, which was nice. A little small thing. Their little bit was a little silly, those two. But you know what? We didn't see a lot of them. This episode was focused on Master Chief, the Spartans, and some crazy adrenaline-filled thrill ride action. That's right, the Master Chief's going around, beating the crap out of things. You get to see all the different Covenant forms you've been missing. We got grunts, we got jackals. We've got jackals with, like, energy swords for some reason. We've got elites. We've got some other surprises, too. Some other Covenant are coming in here, too. But I don't want to spoil it. But you get to see some other pretty cool characters and stuff diving in there. But yeah, the grunts are big. They're terrifying. So are the jackals. They're ruthless. They're throwing humans around. It's violent. It's gory. It's intense. And the Master Chief is just a straight-up tank. An effective monster out there. Damn, it was beautiful. There was like banshees, and there were ships getting blown up, and there was explosions, and it was still like important to the characters. It actually progressed and showed you a little bit of these characters and their motivations. You get to see some people kind of losing their cool as they're getting just like attacked by these monstrous creatures. It was great. You know, we've also got like the Keys. Finally, we get to see Mr. Keys come in and do some intense combat sequences. It was great. it was actually a really, really good episode. I was like, oh, they're using that weapon. Oh, they're overcharging that. And I was like, oh, it was pretty good looking. The CGI actually, for the most part, looked pretty good too, especially for a TV show. I was like, oh wow, that's pretty impressive. So yeah, there was actually stuff going on. It wasn't like feelings were still a big part of things. And sadly, no, you didn't get to see anyone else's rear end this episode, but you did get to see some really intense combat and also the setup of where we're going to be going for the last few episodes of this season, which is quite interesting. They're setting up a different dynamic, and I'm really wondering how this is going to play out. Or, well, I have some theories, actually, as they are doing a bit of a spy element to things as well, which is going to be quite interesting. But yes, we finally get to see some grunts, some jackals, and some elites kind of just going at it, as it's an all-out battle for this particular item. We get to see the Master Chief and his quarrels with what's right and what's wrong, and having to deal with things and making hard choices during intense combative scenarios. You get to see some shields pop in, you get to see some intense gore. You get to literally fear the pink mist. Finally. But yeah, no, seriously, like I can go on and on. There was so many cool little sequences and combative pieces where I was like, finally. And then it would cut to Quan and whatever they're doing. But seriously, very, very small. Not a whole lot in this episode, though those two. Kind of a really silly kind of thing going on between them in that sequence is a little ridiculous almost. But, you know, that's totally out of the way. That's not what the focus is. The focus is Master Chief, the artifact, Halsey kind of dealing with stuff, moving politics, a breaking down of barriers, and then just some crazy action like the whole time. Like if they would have started with this episode, or even put this episode in a few episodes ahead, I think people would have been really, really happy with the series and where it's going. Like, this was just... And again, like, I really much am a person that's like, hey, you know, you need narrative stuff, you need story stuff, that matters a lot. You need to dive into the emotions and who these characters are. But I gotta tell you, it was just so refreshing seeing people literally just, like, get blasted away almost. There was also just this hilarious, and again, I'm not really spoiling anything because it's just action and chaos and craziness. But there's this one moment I really loved where it's like, you know, Master Chief's coming in, he's got no weapon, he needs a weapon, and this like out of nowhere, this like all these Marines are chilling around, and this one Marine runs out with an assault rifle. He's like, "Here you go, Chief." And I was just like, "Yes." So yeah, they got down to business. That's for sure. It was just really interesting seeing. I would have liked to see more of the side Spartans really like their bigger presence than the Marines are. Like the Marines are just getting thrown around like they're nothing. But I would have liked to see more of the secondary Spartans really do their own thing. Like this was 100% all out on the Master Chief doing his thing, which was beautiful to see. We could do without some of the like face shots of the Chief, and again in the middle of a battle, and maybe the ending sequence of a battle, but there's still like conflict going on. Keep your helmet on. You're the Master Chief. Please just keep that helmet on. We know who you look like, man. You're a cool actor. We know who you are, but keep the damn helmet on sometimes. But no, it was action. It's like, they've been moving a lot of subplots around. I think this is what they've been really slowly building towards. I almost wonder if a shorter runtime would be more effective for this series to kind of get the plot moving ahead. Because again, like this is episode 5, and I'd say this is the first time since 3 minutes in the first episode that we've genuinely had some engaging, exciting Halo-like action that actually felt like Halo, that actually delivered some Halo content, and I think that was, for me, quite exciting to witness that. I was very, very excited. I was almost freaking out a little bit. I was like, oh, they're doing that thing, or oh, that thing's from the game, and I was like, ooh, they changed that up, and it was a lot cooler. I don't think it was necessarily like the greatest episode of like TV ever and whatnot, of course, but for like what we've been seeing out of the Halo TV series thus far, this episode was like actually really good, and I think fan pleasing to the highest degree. So obviously there's a lot more that they'll need to cover. I don't really think this season is gonna really kind of launch us off into anywhere familiar in terms of like where we're gonna end up going at this point, but they definitely are setting up some potentially intriguing future episodes. I think we just need to kind of minimize the whole Quan Woodbine situation, get that kind of wrapped back into the main story would be ideal, and just keep focusing on the Chief, Cortana, Halsey, those dynamics. Those ones are kind of interesting, and also Miranda too. I think those dynamics are the more important ones. But yeah, this was actually a pretty good episode. I was very pleased with it, I gotta say. Not like the greatest piece of episodes I've seen out of shows that I've reviewed, but it was certainly a lot more on what I expect and what I hope to see a little bit more of as we go on in the future, but I bet, yeah, they blew the budget with that one. So again, liking the video is great, subscribing is great as well, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it and talk about the show, and we'll be back next week for the next episode of the Halo TV series.